Kennedy and Lee Trevino challenged Terry Wogan and Jerry Pate. First, the news on 2 with Jan Leeming.
The Social Democrats ballot on how to select their leader, and they seem to favour one member, one vote. 300 representatives voted on the key issue, which was the climax of the SDP convention in London. By an overwhelming majority, they showed they wanted the whole party to decide who their first leader should be. Most of the SDP steering committee would have preferred selection by MPs alone, but now the final choice will rest with the membership. Dr. David Owen, who's a possible contender, was asked when the convention ended if he was content with other decisions taken this weekend against leadership advice.
Not perfectly happy, but I think it's pretty good. On balance, I think the gradual move away from being slightly too centralist is actually to be welcomed. We'd already shifted quite a considerable ground in consultations even prior to the conference, but there are some decisions which I think will be a little hard to live with, but with goodwill we can do so.
The Social Democrats came in for criticism at the Young Conservative Conference at Harrogate. The party chairman, Mr. Cecil Parkinson, described them as a threat to realism and a threat to the nation. Mr. Parkinson also attacked the so-called Tory wets for failing to support Mrs. Thatcher when the going was tough. Being on the payroll was easy, Mr. Parkinson said, when the going was good, but fair weather support was no support at all. Pope John Paul has been continuing his grueling tour of West Africa with a visit to the northern Nigerian town of Kaduna. In this predominantly Muslim area, the Pope appealed for close cooperation between the two faiths rooted, he said, in the one God. Then, before the usual huge crowds at the racecourse owned by a Muslim, the Pope ordained 80 new priests. There's been a shortage of priests in the area since foreign missionaries left at the time of the Biafran War. The Israeli cabinet is asking the United States for clarification of reports that America would be prepared to supply missiles and fighter aircraft to Jordan. The reports followed the visit to Amman of American Defense Secretary Caspar Weinberger. As he left yesterday, Mr. Weinberger said the question of arms sales to Jordan was purely hypothetical, since the government there had made no formal request. But the possibility has brought a new crisis in relations between Israel and America. The Israelis say any such deal would bring a new and most dangerous element into the Middle East. England's cricketers suffered a surprise defeat in the second of their one-day internationals against Sri Lanka. The home side had set the tourists a target of 215 to beat. Graham Couch put England well on the way to that total with 74 runs in a century opening stand with Jeff Cook, who made 32. But with only one ball to go, England's last wicket fell, and they lost by just 3 runs. Dog lovers gathered at Earl's Court in London tonight to watch the highlight of the canine year, the selection of Cruft's Supreme Champion, a title which brings honour to the dog and thousands in breeding fees to its owner. After 3 days of scrutiny, the judges had whittled down the original 10,000 entrants to 5 highly bred specimens, from which Judge Reg Gadstone was to make his choice. With the tension mounting, the 2 finalists, an Alsatian and an expensively coiffured toy poodle, waited. And the moment came, but it was almost too much for Mrs. Leslie Howard of Belfast when champion Greycoat Hazelnut, the toy poodle, was proclaimed 1982 Supreme Champion. That's all from me. Good night. A look at the weather.
Well, most places will have a dry day tomorrow with sunny periods. It will, however, be rather cloudy with a few showers in the northwest of Scotland as well as in the southeast of England, but even so, some sunny intervals are also likely. Temperatures will be similar to today's and near the normal of 7 degrees centigrade.